Record on a computer. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second episode of Curious Collaboration. Today, I have Polina Sarafanova as my guest, and I'm really pleased to have Polina, especially because last time when we held virtual Lightning Decision Jam, she was my co-facilitator, which is amazing. Because it was her first time facilitating online virtual collaborative session. And my aspiration is to have as many people as possible who are just embarking on this journey. And this is where I ask them for their experiences, because those are very new experiences. That's why we call this Curious Collaborations, because we want to find out what is going on. So, Polina, can you please tell a little bit about yourself first?
Oh, hi. Hello, everyone. So, Eva, thank you very much for inviting and for giving the opportunity to share my story. So originally I'm from Russia. So I was born there, I studied there, and I lived there till like 5 years ago. So I'm quite Russian in this respect. And then 5 years ago, I moved to Hong Kong for my university degree. And then after finishing my degree, I wanted just to stay a little bit longer in Hong Kong and to have some exposure, and while working in an international team, plus while joining a startup. So that's how I kind of ended up and spent another 4 years, and the time like really flies, so I just don't really see the time passing by while still enjoying my time here. So I joined a startup. It's called theDesk. It's a community, it's a co-working space, and I'm doing community building. So I'm trying to understand what our members are doing, what type of projects they're working on, and I'm trying to kind of connect them together so that they can help each other to achieve their business goals. So that's more or less my background and what I'm currently working on as well.
Great, thank you. So can you tell us a little bit about your experience in virtual Lightning Decision Jams that I did? So you participated in 2, right? One as a participant and the other one as a co-facilitator. So how was that for you?
Well, that was quite interesting and mind-blowing, I should say. So yeah, my whole journey started just recently, right? So you approached and said that you're organizing this Lightning Decision Jams, and I never done it. I didn't really know what it is. So frankly speaking, I just heard because I read a book on design sprints. So I know the words, but I don't know what is behind those words. And I always was looking for an opportunity to kind of experience this type of environment. So I was like, okay, it's my chance. Like there is nothing else to wait for. And yeah, so I jumped on the opportunity. So for the first virtual Light Decision Jam, I joined as a participant. So it allowed me to go through the whole process to understand kind of how you come up with just an idea, you identify the challenge, and then you come up with the ideas and the possible outcomes. So it was very interesting to do it as a participant. And then, as you said, the second time I was the co-facilitator, and it gave me quite a different perspective on the whole process. So it's like, in a way, it's comparing 2 perspectives of being like in the process and outside the process, of doing versus observing and guiding. So I think it's kind of 2 type of different mindsets, and sometimes it might be a little bit difficult to switch between the 2. So for example, the second time, even when I was the co-facilitator, I still was trying to kind of contribute, to give some ideas, to fill in some cards. So it's quite interesting for me to see how these 2 type of desires kind of work together in my nature.
They're fighting for time. This is what I always see as I always like to participate in any kind of design activity as a designer, but then as a facilitator, I have different roles of maintaining the, looking at the time, looking at how people feel, looking at where we are in terms of the output and outcome that we want to achieve in that certain time. and I also always want to, learn more about ideas and how can we do this better, and there it's always competing also for brain space.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's a really interesting, and I think for like moderators or facilitators, this is quite a common challenge, because usually if you're a facilitator, you also have an expertise in a particular field, right? So sometimes these two roles are competing while you're facilitating, because especially if you know the subject that you're facilitating, you also want to give your opinion, while as a facilitator you are not supposed to give, like, you're not supposed to give the opinion, because it might influence what the group is thinking about, or what the group will discuss, or what the group will do. So your main function of a facilitator or moderator is actually to take yourself out of the process, right, and maintain the energy level, but at the same time to be the rule keeper in a way, right, to be the leveling, to provide the leveling field in a way for everyone to participate. So yeah, as you said, to explain the rules, to make sure that people, like, it's not really rules, right, it's not so strict or rigid, it's more about the principles. So you explain the principles of the work, so you make sure that people abide by these principles, by in the goodwill, and you look after timing. So yeah, it's quite different. So instead of being the participator, because as a participator you're in the process and you are directly contributing, so your role is actually to give your opinion. So yeah, quite interesting to observe this difference in yourself when
Yeah, great. Can you tell us about what actually brought you to this point that you want to facilitate collaborative session or collaboration in general?
So frankly speaking, it's been in the back of my mind for quite a while. So my backstory with facilitation, or the interest in the facilitation, actually goes back to my times in university back in Russia. So one of my professors actually introduced me to a methodology called rapid foresight. So it's a methodology that allows to bring representatives from different fields. It can be academia, it can be students, it can be businesses, as well as the government, so civil servants. So this methodology is designed to bring all these different people together and in a collaborative environment through a series of interactions. So usually how it works, they gather 100 people on a boat. And on this boat, they stay together for nearly like a week, so 5 days, 7 days. And for the whole week, 9 to 5 is the collaboration practices. So they break out different people in smaller groups, and these small groups discuss different challenges. So it can be a regional challenge, like for example, how to develop the city, or it can be an industrial challenge. So what are the future of the industry and how do we get ready for that? And by the end of the week, you will have a roadmap. So all these people contributed, and you will have a roadmap of like where the industry will be going in the future. So for example, 10 years from now, and what are the things that the industry leaders and the civil servants can actually do today to facilitate and to make this future happen. So I had a chance, like in the university, we had like a couple of examples. So it was definitely not 7 days, but we had like 1 day workshop where we tried to facilitate this type of environment with our team, with our students, peers, and professors, and I really, really liked it. So I always kind of wanted to have a chance to go back to that and actually try to do it by myself, and to kind of try to implement this methodology here in Hong Kong. So and I think in a way that's one of the reasons why I joined theDesk and why I kind of became a community manager, because community manager is a position of facilitating connections. right? So this is my understanding, right? So I'm a broker of connections. And that's a logical step for me to actually not only broker the connections, not only bring people together, but actually help them in a certain environment get a certain vision of what might be the outcome. Because sometimes you bring people together, there is a potential for some opportunities or possibilities to arise, but people just sometimes don't really know how to make it happen. So that's why I think the design thinking methodology, lightning decision gem methodology, rapid foresight can be something that can help people collaborate better and put ideas together in more efficient ways. So that's kind of a long story towards why I got interested, and I want to explore further, and kind of I started this facilitation journey.
Fascinating. I think we definitely have the same passion. Like that's where I am at as well. And bringing diverse groups of people together, think through things in a structured way can really bring out amazing stuff. I think that this is basically what I'm really drawn to, like that knowledge that is created rapidly from groups of people from diverse backgrounds, right? And brought together in the same room. So if we can use right methods to extract that knowledge or make that knowledge tangible and take it forward into actual reality, like so many things that we are doing wrong and that are not meaningful or are making wrong impact in the world can be actually stopped if we are doing more of this, I think.
I agree. And like one of the things that I wanted to add from like my past experience, so as a community manager, I also organize events. So kind of there is this belief that if you put people together kind of in one space, things start happen. And from my experience, it doesn't happen automatically. So there should be someone who starts doing things, and also there should be a process, so like a curation of that will explain people how to interact, or how to engage. Because yeah, you can start a conversation, but sometimes this conversation doesn't lead anywhere, right? Even if you go for events, right? You might actually, I think that the event experience is quite familiar to everyone, right? You come to the events, it's usually one person talking, you're in the audience, there is not really much interaction, and then when the event is done, you're supposed to network, but then not a lot of people feel very comfortable to network. So you feel sometimes quite awkward, and then you start drinking wine because you think that it's kind of conducive to networking. And then in the end, you sometimes might end up feeling a bit miserable and out of place. So I realized that even for events, if you organize events, it's way better to structure them and to help integrate the small collaboration or like interaction activities like icebreakers, kind of asking random people to group together and discuss and give them the questions to discuss, right? So that it engages people right away and they don't feel awkward at all, because yeah, you have a question to discuss and then you have this opportunity to share your experience. And another thing, even for events, because sometimes you feel awkward and the only thing that you do is just you say the same thing all over again, and usually it's like your name, your job title, and the company you are working for, and it's not really that much of an interesting conversation. And, and so sometimes it doesn't lead to anywhere. So definitely, if you have the small processes, which in my mind, design sprints or like design thinking workshops actually employ this small type of interaction frameworks. It helps people to bring their expertise rather than their title to the table.
Yeah, that's great. I totally agree. So I've been in this space for the last 7 years, and definitely collaboration is something that is fascinating. especially because of that, as you say, like it moves people immediately from where they think they should be or could be into something that they can't even imagine they can be in, right? So it just brings us to a completely different space. Thank you for that. So where do you want to go next? I think my Siri just started. Sorry.
No worries.
So there is an iPad on the side, and Siri just came. What did you just say?
I don't think I got that.
Yeah. So where do you want to go next? I mean, we are participating both in Global Virtual Design Sprint in May, that is done by Robert Skrobe and Dallas Design Sprints, and I'm totally excited that we are together there first time as well. Yeah. Where do you see yourself going with collaboration in the future?
So, well, definitely I'm taking my time right now to actually explore and try things out. And what I really want to do is definitely organize something like a rapid foresight in Hong Kong, and to bring like industry leaders, civil servants, government leaders, students, academia, all together, and actually discuss what will be the future for, like, for example, for Hong Kong, what might be, how to get over the pandemic, how to kind of drive the economy forward. So I think it's really an interesting time, especially this year, to explore all these questions and to actually bring people together and see what every party can bring to the table. So yeah, that's like, probably it's a bit too ambitious. I start just now and I'm like, okay, 2020 rapid foresight, everyone is engaged, right? But probably that's the thing that I would like to do. So my next step is definitely make the small things happen. So actually to do the facilitation where I can, because there is another thing that I observe about myself. I definitely like studying. I really like reading and learning new things, and observing. But I think the next thing that I have to do is to force myself actually do. So not to learn and then do, but rather to do and then learn. So I think that's a very important change that I want to kind of go through this year.
And you already started. And
well,
I'm really,
thanks to you. Thank you. Thanks to you. Yeah.
well, I'm really amazed how fast you said, yeah, sure, no worries, let's do it. Because, you know, when you were asking what could I do next, how do I actually move from learning into doing? And I said, well, stop studying, just join me, right? And you said, yeah, okay. a lot of people would just, you know, back off and say, okay, give me more time to think. You didn't take any time. You just jumped right on. And I love that.
Because probably I have been backing up for like the past 2 years while it was still in my mind. And right now I'm like, there is no reason not to do it, right? I have been watching YouTube lectures. I have been reading books. I even have the checklists, right? But I never end up doing it. So, and one of the reasons is that yeah, sometimes I just don't really know how to apply it. And like the first thing that you told me was like, well, there is no how, there is just do. And I really loved it. So I was like, okay, let's do it.
Awesome. And I hope, you know, to meet more people and attract more people that are like that, because I think we need facilitation everywhere, especially as you say, like as a community manager, you see that as a facilitation of, you know, connections among people that can really help everybody just do better work and build a better world. And I think every profession could use design methodologies as well as facilitate, like skills to facilitate them.
Definitely. It's really, it's not that much industry specific. So what I believe in is that this facilitation skill, it's applicable to every situation, right? And this is probably the thing that I want to do. I don't think that, so I think like one of the issues is that especially like, for example, change management workshops is when you have a person coming in, you have a full day workshop, and you think that things are going to change. No, not really. There should be people within organizations who actually start doing things in a different way. And so for me, the facilitation techniques is a way to, for example, start from something very simple as organizing your team meetings, right? You hear everywhere people are super frustrated with meetings that don't really go, that are not productive, that take too long. You discuss a lot of things without understanding what you're actually discussing about, or without coming with any particular outcome or next action steps, right? So I think that's like that's like probably not the overall answer, but with facilitation techniques you can definitely make it better, right? And also, another thing is that design thinking changes your mindset. You are not really resolving things one and for all, but you just start doing things and then improving them on the go. So you just do one thing. It might be the iteration number one, and then you see what is working, what is not working, and you say, okay, I can improve that. So it's really the improvement type of mindset, not there get it done and forget about it type of mindset, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, definitely. I do see what you mean. Meetings are, as you say, like people think it's this habit of getting together into room and expecting things are just going to happen, right? And it doesn't really work anymore like that. It maybe worked when we had a hierarchical order and there was always someone responsible for making the meeting happen, organizing the meeting, understanding what is the agenda of the meeting, and then going through it. But that is also what I called cooperation, right? Where everybody already come into the room knowing what their role is, what are they going to do, and what are they going to confirm or decide. But if we are doing something that is called new knowledge creation or creative problem solving, it's about sharing ideas and it's about fighting for ideas. It's about conflict and it's about tension that needs to be somehow managed. And so those techniques that are developed in design methodologies and creative problem solving communities are techniques that actually help keep the healthy tension, right? So the tension doesn't go away, but you don't have a conflict really. And it's all in the favor of creativity and finding better ways of solving a challenge, or identifying what actually the challenge is. That's actually the biggest problem.
I think that's true. Yeah, identifying the challenge is the first step towards solving it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I really, yeah, sorry. I really liked your comment about kind of new knowledge creation, because I think that's exactly what is happening right now, where we don't have a framework, we don't have a blueprint, and a lot of teams within a lot of businesses have to deal with uncertainty. And I mean, there is always, so business is always about risk, it's always about uncertainty, but not probably to the level that we're having right now. Right, where you don't really know how long it's going to be, how much it will affect all the businesses and the supply chain and things like that. So that's why it's really, I think that even within the teams, right, sometimes you just have a challenge, but then you might not even have a job function to solve it, right? So it kind of breaks down even the team roles. So that's exactly what you said, right? You gather together all their key decision leaders, but then the challenge might not actually fall in a particular function of the business. And this is where you have even people who kind of who have a very clear job description. You just get over it and you start coming up with something different, with it might be an overarching process, it might be an overarching role, but that technically you start doing something without a blueprint in a way, even at the level of your own job or your own title.
Exactly, it needs to be reinvented, all of it.
Yeah.
When you're in the room with a new challenge, you find a role regarding to that challenge. You don't find a role that you have in the organization. You don't bring that in, right?
But
that's also the role of the facilitator, to bring people to that point, I think, where they look at the challenge and think through, okay, how can I contribute to this? Or what do we do now as a group, and how can I contribute, right? So there are like both levels of the group and individual level that needs to work in parallel at the same time.
That's true. And also I think that in this case, even the participants have to be self-aware in terms of what else they can bring. Because for example, if I work in finance, I might know a lot about the finance, but then at the same time, if I have an interest in, for example, what can it be, public speaking, right? And then it means that I can somehow bring my additional skills to the table. So it's really important to see what else you have, because it's very easy to say, okay, I know only that thing. So I think facilitator can also help people to realize what other skills and what other capabilities they have, and they can kind of voice them out and actually help the team to solve a challenge in a little bit of a different way. So kind of to uncover the untapped potential. That's what I meant.
Yeah, definitely. One more thing that I would like to ask you, so you said you didn't do it before, but it seems like you have really a lot of knowledge about, what facilitation is, what collaboration is. Does it come from the books? Does it come from the lectures that you had in university, or where does it come from?
So I do think my university played a big role, because there was a really, it's not particularly university, but also.
So you were actually a research assistant. You were a PhD candidate, right? So you did a bit of deep research.
Yeah, but my research was definitely not on facilitation or design thinking. So my research was on sending students to study abroad. So it was government policy of sending students to study abroad. So I studied originally in public administration, and at my faculty there was quite an interesting course on system dynamics.
Okay.
So that's how I got interested in kind of looking at things in a different way.
Right.
And then again, back to university, we had professors who were engaged in rapid foresight projects. So kind of they exposed me to that. So I really got interested. So after this, I started reading about things. And also, so there is a Russian Soviet researcher. His name is Georgy Shedrovitsky, and he is the founder of imitation games. So in the Soviet times, there were there was a unique school back in like 50s and 60s, and they were like probably the only ones in Soviet Union who, I don't know that much about the subject, so there is a grain of kind of
assumption.
A grain of assumption in here. But so what they worked on is business imitation modeling games. So I actually had a bit of exposure to that at my university as well. So currently, right now, I decided to delve a little bit deeper into that. So I'm reading actually the book about the book written by Shedrovitsky about their organizational mindset. So it's quite interesting. So I think that's how I have so much knowledge. But as I said, I didn't really have any action. And I think knowledge without action is nothing, because action is something that helps you to internalize the knowledge and actually figure out for yourself, or like for myself, what is applicable to what type of situation. Because when you read, is just kind of, you have it in your mind, but it's not it's not a living knowledge because you
For
have
me, that's entertainment.
Yeah, it's more. Yeah,
it's more like entertainment. I know this stuff and I love connecting dots, but what do I do with that in the world is completely, it's still unknown.
Yeah. So that's why I think what I'm trying to do right now is a bit different, because I actually can experience and observe through the experience and learn through the experience. So for me, it's a bit of a different type of learning as well. So this is another kind of personal challenge, is to get from reading as learning to action as learning.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Well,
fantastic.
so many things.
It's great. I think we definitely need to do that Hong Kong rapid foresight workshop at theDesk really soon. Maybe end of the year, we kind of plan for that, and Round Pegs Fellows can join in. And for those who don't know, actually, Round Pegs Fellows is an organization inside of theDesk that Polina is also helping running, and I'm the fellow. So that's how we actually work together.
Yeah, well, our fellows are are very bright people, so I'm learning a lot from everyone.
Well, round pegs comes from a round peg square hole, right? So we don't fit, and we come together like
As Richard rebels. Says, rebels,
the rebels. Polina, thank you so much for this interesting conversation. A lot of really good learning as well. So I'm going to look for Shedrovitsky. Definitely.
If you're interested, I think I can find a couple of articles, so I can share it with you. But unfortunately, the majority of his resources are in Russian. So I have been trying to look for English versions, because I think at least knowing what was happening in Soviet Union is quite exciting, because sometimes you think Soviet Union is everything bad, right? Communism, things like that. But there are a lot of things that were happening and that are really interesting and quite forward looking. So I think it's there is untapped potential there as well.
Fantastic. Thank you so much again. See you on the next VLDJ. We are facilitating together, right?
Yeah, I'll see you next Wednesday.
Yes.
That sounds great. So it will be great if our audience will also join. And if you're interested to know more about virtual lightning decision jams, I think Eva is the best person to ask.
Thanks so much, Polina.
Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.